Welcome back everyone, hope you're doing well because in today's video we are going to be ranking 20 creatures from Subnautica below 0 on a tier list based off their chances of surviving here on Earth. Now if you like this sort of content and you want to see more, then make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe so you never miss an upload again. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the Chelicerate. Now, the Chelicerate is a Leviathan class lifeform. It's about 40 meters long. It looks like a giant shrimp. Giant shrimpy dude. Maybe not that scary, unless you would see in real life, then you would be terrified because it's a giant thing in the ocean, but we're not ranking this off of their fear factor, we're ranking it off of their chances of surviving here on Earth. Now, first off, it is about 40 meters long, and the largest whales are about 12 to 24 meters long, so this thing's a lot larger than whales. So, what would it be eating? What is it going to be eating? A lot of whales? Maybe, but is it that adapted to hunting whales? I mean, it has the mouth. It has the mouth thing that it can use to like grab onto things. So I could see it using that as an advantage to like grab onto whales and eating them. But after it grabs onto them, it can't like, it's gonna be stuck. Like, how is it gonna tear off that much flesh? And also, it is a pretty large size thing. And I could see sperm whales or like any other like, well, really sperm whales, they hunt stuff. I could see them like grabbing onto its limbs or its like tail or whatever and like biting pieces off. So I can see them fighting back. So this isn't an S tier. I don't see its chances of surviving in S tier, but it's definitely higher up because it can hunt whales and large creatures like that. So we're going to have to put the Chelicerate into A tier. Next up, we have Arctic Peepers and other small herbivores, you know, like the arrow rays, featherfish, spinnerfish, dumb dudes. Now, to be honest, these are just fish. I mean, you gotta think realistically. How would these alien fish, like they're adapted to their alien world, 4546b, they're adapted to that planet. How are they going to do good here? You know, like they're adapted to that planet. They're not really adapted to here. They're just gonna do decently fine. I don't see them outcompeting fish that have been adapted to our planet, you know, and our species and all that stuff. But they're not gonna do terribly. They're not gonna like go extinct day one or whatever. So we're gonna have to put them in C tier. Because they're just going to do mid. They're just going to do fine. And the middle of the tier list is, in fact, C tier. Now we have the Noot Fish. Alright? These are about 1.2 meters long. And essentially what they do, they have their mouth. And if they're hunting their prey, their mouth extends to, like, suck in. Maybe not suck in, but, like, to capture whatever they're trying to hunt easier. Which is pretty interesting. They're about a meter long. Now, first off, hear me out. What that mouth do. But second off, I could see it being able to hunt down smaller fish. I just don't know how well it's going to do, like, against predators. Because, like, tell me what this thing is going to do against, like, a shark or, like, an orca or something like that. Because I forgot to mention this in the beginning. But, like, the environments we're placing these are in the Arctic Ocean and, like, Arctic area and Antarctic Ocean or Southern Ocean and Antarctica. So they're not allowed to, like, really extend kind of far past that. They have to stay in the colder regions. So, and the Noot, I don't know. It could get hunted by orcas. It could get hunted by maybe polar bears if it's in the northern Arctic Ocean. So we're going to have to put the Noot Fish into C tier. But hear me out with that mouth, you know what I'm saying?
I'm not mad, just disappointed.
Anyways, next up we have the Pengwing or the Pengling. Alright, these are about 1.6 meters tall for a Pengwing. And the Pengling, the babies, are about a meter tall. Now, essentially, we're like larger polar bears. Emperor penguins... Not polar bears, penguins. Emperor penguins are about 1.3 meters tall. And like I said, these dudes are, well, 1.6 meters tall. So there's like a 0.3 meter difference. But essentially, these dudes, they're the improvement, all right? The penguins are essentially just cheap freaking knockoffs of these guys. Because, first off, their mouth splits down in the middle. So, all right, their mouth splits down in the middle. And then they have a retractable tail that helps them swim in the water. So they can swim probably faster than penguins. Penguins. They're slightly larger than penguins. And I'm pretty sure they can eat penguins. Maybe not eat them, but they can definitely fight them and fight their territory if they need to. Like, their mouth splits in the open so they can just chomp down. They have a larger mouth so they can more easily catch fish. And maybe even larger fish. So, in Antarctica, it would be kind of difficult. They would have to compete with penguins, but in, like, the Arctic, they would do pretty well. They would do pretty well. So, I'm gonna have to put them into B tier. Because they would have to compete. Because there's two hemispheres. You have the south and the north. I mean, we know that. And we're essentially ranking them on the south and the northern hemisphere, which hemisphere can survive on. So we have to take into account both hemispheres because they're probably going to be placed into both, you know, in this scenario. So essentially, they would do decent in Antarctica, and they would do pretty well in the northern hemisphere. But Antarctica is kind of bringing it down because there is so many penguins in Antarctica, they might get outcompeted for food. So, and because penguins are more adapted, they're already adapted to our planet's fishes, and the Pengwing isn't. But also, the Pengwing is slightly better. So yeah, we're gonna have to put him in B tier. I feel like B tier is fair. Next up is the glow whale. Now these are about 30 meters long. They feed on small fish and they stay in like groups, you know, pods, groups, whatever you want to call them. They're larger than whales because the largest whale is the blue whale, I'm pretty sure. And it's about 24 meters long. So they're like 6-ish meters longer than the longest whale. And I mean, they're just alien whales. Now, again, to be fair, our planet's whales are already adapted to hunting our planet's fishes. If you put our whales in 45, 46B's waters, then they might not be able to hunt as well. But I mean, it is just a whale, and they do travel in pods. I'm just gonna have to put it in C tier because I mean, actually no, we'll put it in B tier because it's gonna do decent. Well, no, actually, yeah, we're gonna put it in C tier because it is slightly larger. Yeah, we're gonna put it in C tier because it's slightly larger than the normal whales. I mean, again, not much stuff is actually going to attack this thing because it is larger and they travel in pods. So actually, yeah, we're going to put them into B tier. Yeah, B tier is nice. B tier is fair. Next up is the Cryptosuchus, all right, about 10.5 meters long. Now, you see this and you think, oh, wow, this dude's pretty armored. He's probably going to be able to tank some hits from like orcas or sharks maybe. But, yeah, no, it's in the game. If they get attacked, they flee. They swim away. They're all bark, no bite at all. They're armored, but that's really for heat absorption, not really defense. And they eat like smaller size fish, so they're not able to hunt larger things. And honestly, orcas are going to be a lot better at hunting fish and smaller creatures than this thing is. Especially because it's not going to be able to fend off. There's going to be like other things it has to compete with. It has to compete with orcas and sharks, maybe even polar bears if it's in the north. So it's going to have to fend off all those things. And it's all bark, no bite. So we're going to have to put it into E tier. All right, because it could still do decent, but it's not going to do amazing. It's not going to do well at all. Just like the eye jelly, all right? These are about 3.5 to 4.5 jellyfishes, and they do have an electric shock, like a small electric shock, but that's mostly used for prey. If they're trying to capture prey, they use it to stun them and eat them. Now, the thing is, I could easily see like a group of orcas maybe attacking this thing and eating it if it tastes good. I don't think it would though. It's a jelly. We're jelly. But again, it's a small electrical shock mainly used for capturing small prey. So I don't think something like a sperm whale is about 12 to 24 meters long. They could probably gobble this thing up. Other than that, they should do decently fine. But again, like the sperm whales eating it up. We're going to put it into E tier. Because it does have that like electrical shock. Again, it might be able to use to start off like orcas, but if a sperm whale is hungry and it wants to eat him, it's going to eat him. Next up is the sea monkey. Now, they're about, not the shrimp or krill, this is a different thing. It's about 2.2 meters long, and it's as intelligent as an actual primate. But if you've played Subnautica Below Zero, you know these things are really annoying. They steal your tools, you know, they like take your tools and build them like into their nests and stuff. Yeah, they're just like, they're sea monkeys. They're essentially just sea monkeys. I don't know how good they're going to do in our oceans because like not much hunts them in the game. But in like the actual Arctic oceans, like they build their nests underground and stuff in like caves. But there's not that many actual underwater caves under the ocean, unless I'm wrong, like in the Arctic area. So they're not gonna do too well. But they're also intelligent, and like humans would be like, oh, these creatures are intelligent. We're gonna have to put them into museums and stuff like that, or conservation groups. So I'm gonna put them in D tier. I could see them doing decently fine. But against like predators and stuff, I think they're gonna get gobbled. What's not getting gobbled is the rock puncher. Now, these dudes are about 4.6 meters long, large, and they use their claws, their fists or whatever, to break rocks and bones close to the speed of sound. They can punch close to the speed of sound, which is pretty crazy. And they're very armored. In the game, the only thing that might attack them is like large leviathans, and we don't have large leviathans IRL, so they probably won't have predators unless like a group of sperm whales maybe tries to attack it, you know? Maybe, or like A couple orcas try to jump it, but in the end, that punch to the face, you know, if I was an orca and I got punched in the face, close to the speed of sound, I am not going to eat it. Now, the problem with them is that they eat rock grubs, and these are these tiny little dudes. So they punch the ground to collect these rock grubs. But the thing is, rock grubs don't exist on our planet. And in case you're like, oh wait, rock grubs aren't on this list, it's in part 1 if you want to see part 1, top right of the screen. But if you want to keep watching this video, then you know what to do. Essentially, they punch the ground, get the rock grubs, and eat them. And rock grubs don't exist, so what are they going to eat? Now, I'm assuming if they can eat little rock grubs, they can eat other small things, but they're not really accustomed to hunting small things. But they would probably be able to like maybe eat like lobsters or crustaceans or like snails or other seafloor things. So we're going to put them into B tier. Actually, yeah, we're going to put them into B tier because they don't have any predators. No, A tier, because they have no predators at all. Well, almost no predators at all. And the only problem is that they might not be able to find all that food that well. Because again, if you punch a rock and a snail, you might punch a snail too. Yeah, we're going to put them into A tier. I feel like they'll do well in A tier. Next up is the Pinnacarid, alright? They're about 3.2 meters long. And they're essentially weird seals. They kind of look like the Anomalocaris. So that's pretty cool. I like the design. They're friendly to humans. They're not aggressive to us. They eat small fish and they're social and intelligent creatures. So that's working in their favor. If you're like a cute creature, humans kind of like you more. Like no one cares if like, I don't know, let's think of an ugly animal. No one cares if like the blobfish goes extinct. But like everyone's going to care if like elephants are going for extinct, for example. So, or like seals. If seals are going extinct, then people will care more, slightly more. So yeah, they are slightly larger than seals. Well, there's large seals. They're like in the mid-size of the seal size range. I feel like they're just going to do well. There's no seals in Antarctica, so they're going to do well in Antarctica. But in the Arctic, they might get out-competed. Actually, there might be seals in Antarctica. I don't know off the top of my head. But I think they're going to do B tier. We're going to throw them in B tier. Because I could see them doing well. I could also see them getting out-competed. But also, if this thing magically appeared in the oceans, people are going to want to care about them more. I mean, that goes for most of these creatures, but especially these guys. Next up is the Squidshark. Now, this guy is crazy, all right? First off, about 14 meters long. You want to know how long some whales are? Humpback whales are 12 to 18 meters. Sperm whales are 12 to 24 meters. And orcas are 5 to 10 meters. So these are larger than orcas. They don't work in groups, though. They're solo creatures. They have electric tentacles. The blue tentacles you see, those, they can stun larger prey. So they can use that to stun a larger prey or opponent. And in their mouth, you see how it splits open like that? They can use that to, I can imagine them using that to latch on to larger creatures like whales or, I mean, orcas probably. They don't do it in game. They eat smaller fish, but I can easily see them hunting large fish. And then also, they have the vents on the side of them. They expel seawater, so they move extremely fast. So not only perfectly capable of hunting down whales if they wanted to, they have the thing to stun whales, so they can stun the whale, attack the whale, and then speed away from the whale. So I mean, they're really good at that. The only problem is that they're slightly small. They're 14 meters, and sperm whales are 12 to 24 meters. So I could see like a sperm whale or two jumping the squid shark, but the squid shark might be able to get away. So that's why we're gonna put him in S tier. Because even if it doesn't go for whales, I could still go for like maybe sharks or like solo whales, stuff like that. So we're gonna put it into S tier. What might not go into S tier is the ice worm. Now, I have to say this in the beginning. Ice worms cannot swim, or they don't swim in the game. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that they can't swim because the wiki says they do not swim. Essentially, their horn on the top of their head helps melt through ice. They don't dig through the ground. They only like dig through ice. So it's a superheated horn. Like the chemical reaction in their head or whatever causes the thing to heat up when it comes into contact with water or ice, and then it heats up the ice, and then you can dig through to hunt creatures down. Now, there's only like really obviously like you had the Arctic like sea ice, whatever. Greenland, you have the Greenland ice sheet that it can use as. Obviously, Antarctica is perfect for it, but it's also not. It's perfect for movement, but it's not perfect for food because Antarctica, all it would be able to eat would be penguins on a surface. Now, there's about 40 million penguins in Antarctica. So that is a lot of penguins. That's a lot of food. But eventually, it's going to eat a lot of penguins. And Antarctica is a big place. Now, also like Greenland. And Greenland is going to do a lot better. It's a bit smaller of a habitat. It is a large island, obviously, but smaller compared to Antarctica. I mean, it has polar bears, walruses, all that jazz. It's gonna do well, but also it doesn't go into the water. If it could swim into water, I can possibly see this thing hunting whales and stuff, but it doesn't do that. So on land, it would really only be hunting penguins in Antarctica, and then walruses and polar bears in the Arctic, and obviously sea ice is melting and all that stuff jazz. So not many polar bears, maybe not all the walruses. They could eat seals or maybe even people, but it's only gonna feed them for so long. So we are gonna put them into A tier, bro. I do see them, if they came to our planet, I do see them becoming a major threat to species and such. Now, what isn't going to be a major threat is the lily paddler. They're about 2.8 meters long, and essentially they're herbivore. They eat plants, but those weird things you see, they like shine. The weird lily pad, whatever, they shine and they make you dizzy. You know, they like hypnosis or whatever upon whatever's trying to eat them. So they do have good defense. They can usually defend themselves. So if there's like let's say a single orca or shark coming to attack and uses that, it's like, oh, you know, it gets all disoriented, the fish can swim away. Now the problem is, let's say there's a group of orcas hunting this thing. Well, then it might not do so well because, you know, one of them could be distracted and the other one could come behind and eat it, you know? So I'm going to put it into B tier. Like, it could work. I do see it possibly working. But at the same time, orcas would violate this thing. Maybe. Unless, like, the orcas just manage to stay away from it, then it's going to do pretty well. So we're going to put it into B tier. Next up is the Titan Holefish and Symbiotes, because the Symbiotes, they can't live without the Titan Holefish, and the Titan Holefish would be cooked without the Symbiotes. Symbiotes are 0.75 meters. Titan Holefish is 4 meters, approximately. Now, essentially, the Symbiotes, they lay their eggs inside the Holefish's hole, and they defend the Holefish while the Holefish carries their eggs or whatever. The problem is, the Holefish is really stupid. And I can easily see, I mean, tell me what a tiny little symbiote dude is going to do against a group of tiny little symbiotes is going to do against a pack of orcas. They're cooked, and the orcas are just going to eat the Titan Holefish up like a donut. I'm going to be honest. We're going to have to put the Titan Holefish in E tier, all right? I don't think it's cooked. It could survive, but it's just going to get eaten up. Unless the symbiotes are, like, really good at defending, which if they do, then they might save a few. But I don't see most of them surviving. Next up is the Ventgarden. Now, these are also Leviathan class life forms. They're about 110 meters long, all right, which is like not long, tall. And they can move when they're juveniles, but then they like find a vent and then they latch onto hydrothermal, the warm vents in the volcano areas underwater, all that jazz. And then they use that to kind of feed themselves and grow and all that. And they can't move after that point. So after they can't move, they're literally sitting ducks to a creature called a sperm whale. I would imagine sperm whales easily coming by and be like, oh, look, a snack, and they just rip it to shreds. Because I don't think it can defend itself, and it can't move. Juveniles, maybe, but the juveniles are also kind of slow. So honestly, I don't see them surviving that long. Especially if like a group of sperm whales comes by and hunts it down. It's cooked. What is it going to do? Nothing. Next up is the brute shark. Now, it's about 10.5 meters long. It has a bony jaw, kind of like a dunk. Not as strong as a dunk, though. Which, if you want to see something related to a dunk, up in the top right-hand corner is a prehistoric fauna aura tier list. So go give that a watch if you're interested. Anyways, back with this, though. The brute shark, bony jaw, as I said, has it's not too fast, and it's not very smart. So it's kind of slow, and it's kind of dumb. But it does have that armored jaw and possibly armored body. So, again, orcas are about 5 to 10 meters. So I could see a few orcas, and these are solitary animals. So I could see a group of orcas like just jumping the brute shark. So we're going to put them into C tier. I mean, it is going to do fine. It's going to be able to manage its own for a while. But if a group of orcas like, hey, let's eat that thing, then they're going to eat that thing. Next up is the Brinewing. Now, these dudes are pretty small. They're about 1.25 meters long. And they have this like thing in their mouth or their gut or whatever that they can shoot to freeze and trap their prey in like ice. Which is pretty good. That is pretty good for hunting. So if they're trying to hunt a small fish that's getting away, they could just shoot that and then boom, frozen. And then they could eat it. So that is pretty well. That works well in their favor. But also, what is that going to do against predators and stuff like that? So they're going to get eaten. This is a good C tier again, because it is going to be able to hunt. It is going to be able to manage on its own. But if like a shark or an orca or a polar bear even finds this thing to be tasty, then they're probably going to eat it. Because I don't know exactly what actually, this thing can freeze you, the person. I just haven't seen it freeze anything larger than like a person. So maybe a polar bear. I don't know. It would definitely deter them from attacking it, but it's not impossible for them to eat this thing. Next up, though, is the Snow Stalker. Now, these dudes are about 5 meters long. All right, not only that, they operate in packs or like groups or whatever, so that's also a bonus in their favor. And they eat fish and other water creatures. So, off the bat, they're going to do amazing in Antarctica because there's not much stuff on land in Antarctica to hunt. They have, again, 40 million penguins for them to hunt. They're going to do perfectly fine in Antarctica. The Arctic, polar bears are about 2.4 to 3 meters long, so they're larger than polar bears. And they're in groups. Polar bears, I don't think, travel in groups. So, a polar bear walks along, sees this thing, it's going to run or it's going to get offed and eaten. So, I don't see polar bears doing too well. This thing could eat walruses, it could eat seals, it could eat everything a polar bear eats, but better. And it's going to be in Antarctica too. So this thing's going to do fine. And then not only that, obviously that would probably put it into S tier because it's going to outcompete whatever it has. And it's not really going to have any predators because the only predator it had on 4546B was the ice worm. And now it doesn't have any predators. I think it's going to do amazing. But not only that, it can possibly be domesticated. It was domesticated by Margaret Maida in the game. So we will probably be able to domesticate and tame these things for pets. And who doesn't want a giant fuzzy, this guy? Who doesn't want a giant fuzzy version of this guy? So even if they don't do good in the wild, they're going to do perfectly fine in homes and such because they're cute, fuzzy little guys. And I mean, dogs and cats have done amazing as a species because they've been domesticated. So have these guys, along the other factors that they have. So we're going to throw this dude into S tier. Next up is the Shadow Leviathan. Now, they have the little leg things under them that they can use for hunting. And in that blue stuff you see, that's like their mouth, and it leads directly to their stomach. So, pretty interesting. And also, that thing secretes a highly acidic compound onto like any captured prey they have, so it like degrades their skin or whatever. But then the fact you take in, they're 60 meters long. They're 60 meters long, and the largest whales are like 24 meters long. These things are huge. They could easily just swim up to a whale, latch on, and then eat the whale alive. Just easily. And then obviously it's not going to have any natural predators because it's 60 meters long, dude. And they, I mean, if you think food is going to be a problem, like they have a lack of food, they live in a tiny cave. There's not much to eat in said tiny cave. Well, not a tiny cave, but like a smaller sized cave. They don't live in the ocean. They didn't live in the open ocean in the game. They lived in a cave. So now you add in the fact that there's possibly thousands of whales for them to eat, and that they have no predators. Not that they did. I don't think they did in the original game, but still, they're set for life. They have to go into S tier. The Shadow Leviathan is locked in. Last on our list is the Frozen Leviathan. Now, they're about 150 meters long, which is huge. But thing is, they don't hunt on land. They're too big to hunt on land. So they chill on land, and then they hunt in the water. Now, again, whales are about 30 meters long. Let's just say 30. This thing would just eat whales like a fish. Like a bear eats a fish, that's what this thing would do. So just swim in the water, grab a fish, and then chill on land and eat it. Which, these are huge. This would be a threat. We would probably wipe these out. 150 meters. The largest land animal to ever exist was 37 meters long. And this thing is 150. This thing, first off, is huge. If we take gravity into consideration, it wouldn't even be able to survive, but that's boring and lame. So this thing would, first off, the food situation, you'd have to eat so much food, and second off, people would hunt this thing down. This thing would probably be a threat to shipping and towns and all that jazz, especially the shipping industry, dude. This thing would be hunted down, but it's also a huge thing. It's also armored, and it has those horns on it, so if it's trying to attack a ship, it would attack the ship and possibly sink it in the claws and all that stuff. We're going to put it to A tier. The only thing stopping it from going into S tier is the fact that humans would hunt this thing down because of how much a threat it could possibly be to us. That is the end of our ranking, but we have a little special segment to go through. And now, you see these top 3. The question is, which one of them has the best chances of surviving, all right? Which one of these would do the best on our planet? Now, not automatically out, but first off, we gotta go ahead and cut the Squidshark out. I don't see the Squidshark doing too well, especially because it can be hunted, but it will do well. It's definitely going in S tier, but it can be hunted, so it's not the best. It is not the most likely to do the best. Now, all we have left is the Snow Stalker and the Shadow Leviathan. Now, this is a hard toss-up, because yes, this is a very hard toss-up, because one can be domesticated, so we will have plenty of them around. And then one can just easily hunt anything in the ocean if we wanted to. But honestly, we're gonna have to go Snow Stalker. I believe Snow Stalker has the best chances of survival, solely based on the chance that it can be tamed. And if it's tamed, we're going to have a lot of them, which automatically increases the chances of survival. And Shadow Leviathan, it's very large, and it might not have might not be able to get enough food at once the whale population starts drastically decreasing because of how much whales it's eating. So it might not do too well, but it definitely will dominate the environment. I just feel like long term, the snow stalker would do the best on the list. And that is the end of today's video. Thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Maybe watch some of my other videos. But in case you don't do that, in case I don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.